Alright guys, Alex Mason here, and I'm going to be doing my next summary for Call of Duty, a Halloween related topic, episode 6, I want to say, yes, 6. So, the next one is Halloween 6, or Halloween, The Curse of Michael Myers, and this takes place in 1995, basically taking place right after the last Halloween. So, basically, in the sixth film, it opened with a 15-year-old Jamie Lloyd, who we saw in the last one, who was the girl trying to survive him, pleading, gasping, and screaming as she was wheeled on a stretcher down a long underground corridor by masked physicians. It was eventually revealed to be Smith's Grove Warren County Sanitarium, which she was hallucinating that her crazed psycho serial killer Uncle Myers was terrorizing her with a large butcher knife. Trench-coated men in black was also visible. The same guy who broke Myers out last time. Jamie was laid on her back with her arms and legs tied, surrounded by a candlelit altar with burning torches during a mysterious ceremony of satanic cultists. Basically, they wanted another baby of evil, like Myers was. She was then seen in labor delivering a male baby that was immediately handed to the man in black. She cursed him as her baby was taken away, basically saying, "Give me back my daughter." And he was later identified, or the voiceover was Tommy Doyle, and he says, when Michael Myers was 6 years old, he stabbed his sister to death. For years, he was locked up in Smith Grove Sanitarium, but he escaped, and suddenly, Halloween became another word for mayhem. One by one, he killed his entire family until his 9-year-old niece, Jamie Lloyd, was the only one left alive. 6 years ago, Halloween night, Michael and Jamie vanished. Many people believe them dead, but I think that someone hid them away. Someone who keeps Michael, protects him, tries to control him, and if there's one thing I know, you can't control evil. You can lock it up, you can burn it and bury it and pray that it dies, but it never will. It just rests a while. You can lock your doors and say your prayers at night, but the evil's out there waiting, and maybe, just maybe, it's closer than you think. And that, Tommy Doyle, in case you guys didn't remember, was the kid from the original Myers movie who was being babysitted by Laurie Strode. Said, "Oh, the boogeyman's about to get me!" So, since the previous film, the Man in Black guy had kidnapped and cared for both Myers and Jamie, during which the time she was impregnated by Michael. Wait. Yeah, that makes sense. On Halloween Eve of 95, she delivered a male baby, marked on its stomach in the blood with a rune symbol, and was used on the altar in a ritual. You know, all the satanic Illuminati-like stuff. She feared that she wouldn't be allowed to keep him, so Mary left her at the exit, who was the nurse. She aided her in escape, only to die. When grabbed her by her throat, choked her, and picked her up and impaled the back of her skull into the metal spike on the wall. Michael was chasing Jamie. She fled to a nearby road where she took driver's seat of a vacated truck. The angry, drunken driver yelled at her, "What the hell are you doing in my truck?" And then had his neck violently twisted around and snapped. She drove off with the stolen truck into a rainy, thundery night. And of all the places, she had to go to Haddonfield, because she couldn't go anywhere else. Really. But anyway, in Haddonfield, the old Myers home had been sold to the Strode really, or whatever that word is. The young boy Danny Strode, who slept in Myers' bedroom, was experiencing nightmares of a knife-wielding voice man. He says things, bad things. By the way, this kid's also having the symptoms that Myers did, except I think he got over it afterwards. But basically, he kept having nightmares where he kept drawing the thorn, the Curse of the Thorn symbol, which is the cult that Myers was in, and his boss were in. So, the broadcast called, gosh. There, and at the same time, the broadcast of WKNB radio show called Back Talk, hosted by shock jock Barry Sims, was airing a special Halloween edition of its show on Halloween Eve. Sims announced that their next night's show would be a broadcast live from Haddonfield at the Halloween Harvest Fair, where Halloween had been banned since 1989. When infamous serial killer Michael Myers and his niece Jamie Lloyd and about a dozen cops were killed in an explosion. All obviously falsehood stuff, because Jamie didn't perish in the explosion, neither did Myers, because apparently he cannot die. He's got hacks, I call it. Life hacks. And, funny thing is, Tommy Doyle lives right across from the old Myers home. And this Myers home actually looks like the real one, compared to the one in the movie before. Which is odd, because apparently they just went back. I don't know. But, that's what happened. He was using a camera, telephoto lens to spy on the Strodes. He's now got, like, this conspiracy stuff. He's got a whole bunch of bulletins and stuff with different ads and newspaper articles about Myers and Dr. Loomis stuff. I'm pretty sure he's got Dr. Loomis on speed dial. So, he phoned the radio show, explained how he saw Michael Myers when he was 8 years old. He considered himself one of the lucky ones. And he says, I survived. And then he said, Michael's work isn't done in Haddonfield, and very soon he'll come home to kill again, but this time, I'll be ready. He was, like, obsessed with that whole thing. And Dr. Loomis at this point was retired, and this is where it's different. He's no longer played by Donald Pleasance, because Donald Pleasance died during this movie. So they had a guy who played him, and it worked somewhat, because now he was too old, basically, and that was the whole idea. And he was also listening to the radio show in his isolated country home, and then he was joined by Terrence Wynn. Now we're gonna get to the bottom of Terrence Wynn sooner enough. And a friend and colleague for a drink, Wynn stressed that he said he had chosen Loomis to return to Smiths Grove Sanitarium. Loomis said, "No, I'm not going to," claiming he had buried the ghosts in a manuscript. I don't know why. Later, Jamie got to a local bus depot and listened to the broadcast on the PA system. Inside the darkened and empty terminal, another female caller from Haddonfield Junior College spoke about a planned Halloween rally on campus to revitalize the town after 6 years of banned celebrations. Personally, I just say don't go to Haddonfield. They should just wipe it off the map and just say it doesn't exist. Prevent everybody from going. Anyway, Jamie called, this is weird, the 1-800-YOU-SUCK number, which is for the radio talk show thing, and Loomis and Tommy both heard this. This is the good part. A warning of Myers' imminent return. They're coming, Michael Myers. And Dr. Loomis, she mentioned Dr. Loomis by name because she knew her, and he's like, oh shit, I gotta go back there again. He's like, great. So, but back then he was all considered a wacko, like a whack job. He's like, oh, that guy should be put in an asylum because nobody likes him. But no, not really. That was kind of dumb. Sorry, I'm just trying to get situated here. So, what happened next? Was that she was still being pursued, and she outside her truck, and then followed her in a stolen van. Blah 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 blah. After running her off the road and into the barn, grabbed her by the neck and impaled her stomach to the spikes of a corn thresher. Sounds too much like Children of the Corn, if you ask me. Just the name corn thresher. Further in, like, started to push her farther, like, basically, like, so she was impaled, like, right here, then pushed farther down where she was doing nothing but coughing out blood, basically, you know, any kind of thing, and she was, like, pretending to, like, be, like, have, like, a one last hug, I guess. She muttered her last final words, which was kind of bad. She's like, "You can't have the baby, Michael," before he activated the Thresher's controls, causing Thresher to rip her insides apart. And only the baby blanket was found in the truck. So now, Steven is the name of the baby, and this kid was named by Tommy, who found the baby. It's now Halloween Day. And we see the members of the troubled and dysfunctional Strode family, because ever since the whole thing, they've been struggling to sell stuff. So, single mother and red-haired college student Kara Strode, and her 6-year-old son Danny, who's the kid who's got the problems, have both returned to live with their parents in the household after being away for 5 years. Kara's parents included a caring mother, Deborah, who I hated the fact that she died, and an extremely abusive father, John, who called Danny a bastard boy because he hates Kara for some unknown reason. Seriously, that guy's a dick. I didn't care if he lived or died, well, because he was just one of those characters you never really want to see again. He believed she had brought bad luck to the household. Also, there was Kara's teenage brother, Tim, Danny's uncle, who was dating a girlfriend, Beth. She lived right across the hall from Tommy in a boarding house across the street from the Strode house. Elderly Miss Blankenship managed the whole thing, and we're going to get to her soon, too. So, meanwhile, at the sanitarium, Dr. Wynn and Loomis learned Jamie Lloyd's body had been discovered near Haddonfield, the rune symbol or mark tattooed on Myers' wrist, and on the stomach of Jamie's baby was seen of the crime scene painted or burned in black on bales of hay. Loomis said, "It's his mark. He's come home." So now we go back to Tommy Doyle, listened intently to his reel-to-reel tape recording of Jamie's radio interview, and figured out the call came from the bus depot. Blood droppings from the payphone both led to the downstairs restroom. And this is where he found the baby in the wooden cat. He takes him back, and, then a prophetic picture of the Strode's mom, and he had the picture of the original Strodes, and he said, "Mommy, Uncle, Tim, Grandpa, and Grandma, all in the blood, wait a minute, hang on. The imaginative young Danny Strode would draw a prophetic picture of the Strodes, Mommy, Uncle Tim, Grandma, and Grandma, all with bloody knives sticking to them as they stood next to the black object labeled Thorn." In this case, he's talking about saying, hey, in a few hours, you are all going to die by the hand of Michael Myers. Seriously, I would have just taken him to some therapy lesson or something, because it was so weird. In the emergency room of a hospital, Tommy was carrying Jamie's baby when he spoke to Dr. Loomis and introduced himself and corrected his misconception about Jamie being the last of the Myers bloodline. Now that Michael came back, no, Dr. Loomis, she's not the last. That's what he said. Was told about the Strodes now living in the Myers house. Tommy took the baby into his care for protective safekeeping from harm. I don't know why he didn't just call the cops and say, "Hey, cops, I got this baby. You want to help me?" And they're like, "No." So, and then he named him Steven. Deborah, back to the Myers house, the original. Deborah was struggling with the malfunctioning washing machine in the basement. She suspected someone else was in the house, but only Dr. Loomis, who claimed he wanted to help the family, warned her of the violent force inside the serial killer Myers that contaminated his soul. He's like, it was pure evil, and that he would return to his childhood home that was scared to him, was sacred to him, with all the memories here. So he basically gives her a threat. He's like, "Hey, just to let you know, Myers escaped again. So I'm gonna have to end it there, guys, and I'll put it in part 2.